Exactly 1 week ago, Israel formally recognized Somaliland. At the time, it was framed as a symbolic diplomatic gesture, a footnote in a long-running dispute. 7 days later, however, that framing no longer holds. Within a week, the decision triggered an emergency United Nations Security Council session, near universal diplomatic condemnation, explicit military warnings from Yemen's Houthis, and a direct accusation of aggression from Somalia's president. This wasn't just a recognition, it was an attempted escalation. On Friday the 26th of December, Israel became the first and only UN member state to recognize Somaliland since it declared independence from Somalia in 1991. For more than 3 decades, Somaliland existed in a deliberate legal limbo. It functioned as a de facto state with elections, institutions, and foreign engagement, but it was intentionally left unrecognized. Why? Because every major actor understood that crossing this line risked destabilizing the Horn of Africa, but Israel crossed it anyway. The response was immediate. An emergency Security Council session was convened, and 14 out of 15 members criticized the move. Only the United States declined to join the condemnation, and even then, Washington stopped short of recognizing Somaliland itself. And the distinction matters, because this was not a split world, it was near total isolation. Despite what Israel did, African Union principles on border integrity were reaffirmed, and states that had quietly engaged Somaliland for years made clear that they had no intention of following Israel's lead. The message was simple: you don't do this, not unilaterally, and not without consequences. And those consequences arrived faster than many expected. Yemen's Houthis issued explicit warnings that any Israeli presence in Somaliland would be treated as a military target. Pause on that for a moment. A local sovereignty dispute in northern Somalia was suddenly pulled into the wider Red Sea conflict, alongside Gaza, the major shipping routes, and the conflict with Iran and the Houthis. This is one of the most sensitive maritime corridors on the planet, with a significant share of global trade moving through it every day. Somalia's president addressed the country's parliament, calling the recognition an act of aggression and an attempt to dismantle the Somali state through political means rather than force. And Israel's response compounded the fallout. Israeli officials and aligned voices invoked the language of atrocity and genocide, framing historical violence in northern Somalia as moral justification for recognition. Somalia rejected this outright. The charge landed badly internationally, coming at a moment when Israel itself faces mounting outrage over its ongoing genocide in Gaza. But let's face it, none of this is unprecedented. Israel has repeatedly exploited internal fractures in strategically sensitive regions, whether that be through formal recognition as we see here, or proxy support. Israel's modus operandi as an agent of chaos is consistent. Encourage fragmentation, secure short-term leverage, then withdraw from responsibility once the instability escalates. And blaming Israel's recent actions solely on Benjamin Milikowski, as many analysts do, is not enough, because it obscures a longer and more consistent pattern. This strategy did not begin with him and will not end with him. It reflects an entrenched approach within Israeli state doctrine that pursues fragmentation over de-escalation or regional stabilization. So what happened in the last 7 days? Somaliland is no longer insulated from regional conflict. Somalia's territorial dispute is now internationalized. The Red Sea security situation is now even more volatile, and Israel is now more diplomatically isolated because of an issue it chose to unilaterally escalate. 1 week later, the question is no longer why Israel did this. The question really is, who will pay the price? And the answer to that is undoubtedly the Somali people, whether they live in what we call Somalia or Somaliland. If you'd like to read more about this issue, please see the link below to the Beyond Left and Right Substack.